I see 20 or 30 girls come in here every day, mostly from small towns with big dreams. And they're all good. You're going to be great.
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick. Alonzo, Christy, Ben, new film from Nicholas Winding Refn, the Neon Demon, opens this week. I did not see it, but these cats did, so they will tell you about it.
I think you will dig it because Beyond the Valley of the Dolls is one of its influences, apparently.
I mean,
I think you will dig it. It's kind of wacky. So Elle Fanning is a young, aspiring model with dreams of stardom who comes to Los Angeles, as so many beautiful young girls do. And she's just so pretty, and she just keeps booking all these gigs, and all the other pretty girls get really, really mad, and then they get jealous, and then they get homicidal, and then bad things happen from there. Take a look.
Are we having a party or something? You know what my mother used to call me?
This movie is batshit, but in a lot of really great ways. I dug it because it's lurid, it's beautiful, it's startling, it's strange, it's darkly funny. It goes to a place, it takes a turn there in its third act that either you're going to go with it or you're not. Yeah, and it's just so weird that I kind of dug it.
Yeah, I didn't really dig it. I didn't dig it as much as you, but I found myself, and why I ended up raising my score significantly was because I was thinking about it 4 hours later at night. And I don't really know what it was, though. And normally that might not matter, but in this case it did. Like you say it goes in a bizarre direction. It didn't really go in a bizarre direction for some time. And I think it might have been, you wouldn't have had the shock element of when it goes bizarre, but it might have been more entertaining because for about half of the first 2/3, Alonzo will do the math on that. So,
7/8.
Right. I was fairly irritated because it really felt directed. Like, look at me, I am.
That's what he does.
I got it.
You've seen Drive. You've seen
yeah. But Drive had a story that was consistent, and so then it changed, and I was like, I'm okay with the change, but what was all that other nonsense where you were showing off that you know how to direct a movie? And it felt like showing off to me, and it felt like it was definitely headed in a direction. Like, was this a horror movie?
It becomes one.
Kind of, right. But
it becomes one.
But it definitely didn't seem like one for the first hour.
No, for the first hour, it's just like ingenue comes to LA with dreams of stardom and like what's going to happen to her. And will she be exploited? Will the machine, eat her up and spit her out?
Yeah,
and it doesn't do that.
Is it like Mulholland Drive at all?
Well, it's a lot like Mulholland Drive. It's a lot like David Lynch in general, there is a darkness to it and a richly colorful, kind of jewel-toned but menacing beauty to it in a way that reminds me of a lot of David Lynch. And it is kind of like Mulholland Drive, and I've seen that comparison elsewhere in that it's about, the dream factory and how it can be a nightmare. But then it gets funny.
It does get funny.
It gets strangely funny.
It gets funny. I mean, this is the opposite of what we usually say, but the third act was the best act.
Because it gets wacky.
Because it gets wacky, and it stopped being, and then all of a sudden his showiness seemed to have a purpose to me. So I think I have a predisposition to want to dislike movies that feel directed, no question. But so factor that in when you dismiss everything I say. But also movies that are set in heavily populated areas where the idea is, and he talks about in the press notes, which I'm going to read from in a second because he said something incredibly funny, that movies that are set in a place where millions of people live and which massively influence how we see the world, what comes out of Los Angeles. But there are barely any other people in the movie. Like the movie is not, like there's no
background?
There's no background, there's nobody on the sidewalks, there are no cars, there's no where is everybody? There's just the characters in the movie. Mostly it's Elle Fanning and these two other girls who are incredibly well cast.
Abby Lee and Bella Heathcote.
Right, and both of them are like, oh, they got the right
They're
girls.
models.
Yeah, they're models, but they're good.
Abby Lee actually is a model. She was also in Mad Max Fury Road. She's one of the wives in Mad Max.
Oh, is that
Fury Road.
they? But they look like models, but they act like actresses. So I thought they did both of them did a nice job. Keanu Reeves is in this,
very briefly.
Very briefly,
as the
but
sleazy motel manager.
again, the thing that ends up being kind of like, what's that about? Why are and it seems like it's a different movie. And Christina Hendricks also.
Briefly, yeah. I think that the lack, to speak to your point about the lack of people, that adds to the eeriness of it. And I think it adds to the sense of isolation, that they are in this weird bubble that does not exist within our contemporary daily society, in a place that is supposed to be bustling. That's, I think, clearly an intentional choice. And it worked because it made you, it stuck in your head.
Yeah, but I would say it didn't
not.
work because it made me not believe anything that was happening.
But I don't think you're supposed to believe what's happening. It's supposed to be off-putting
but I don't want to know whether. Well, I don't like. Here's another thing I don't like.
Okay.
I don't
What else don't you like?
I don't like leaving a movie, and this is in my notes of what's done. I don't like it. And then afterwards, I'm like, is that real? Did that happen? Did all of that actually? Did what I see happen?
Was it a dream?
In the manner that it happened?
There's a moment where she kind of goes into this trance involving this like pink neon triangle.
Yeah, I didn't like that either.
I mean, like, you could argue, kind of like Mulholland Drive, like she crosses some sort of plane, right? Psychologically, spiritually, whatever. And from that point on, no, it's not necessarily real or actually happening. But who is to know? It's up for interpretation, I would argue. And like Naomi Watts in Mulholland Drive, Elle Fanning has to play a couple of different versions of the same person.
She does, yeah.
And she changes.
She's good.
Drastically. But I would say also with her character, this reveals some of the problems with the script, some of the weaknesses with the script, because like who she is alluded to vaguely, like maybe she's 16 and maybe her parents have died.
Right.
And they make a big point of these things. But then she also just behaves in ways that are totally antithetical to the person that we initially got to know.
There's one very abrupt turn.
When she goes through the magical neon
No, when
triangle.
she's with her boyfriend in the restaurant.
Yes.
That didn't seem like all of a sudden like, oh, okay, she's a different person now. Like that character change seemed abrupt, and those would be script problems. But if you're going to complain that so many modern movies are the same, then this stands out because it is not.
No.
Yeah, it is definitely not the
it
same.
Affects
for that,
your mood.
And it really stuck with me. So I ended up raising my score. But let me. So there's a director's statement,
Please
which is
read.
funny. Just so it starts by saying, "With the neon demon." I kept saying that.
Right.
Excuse me.
Is this a sports thing?
With the neon
Prime
demon,
time.
I wanted to create a funny, violent, beautiful, sexy, melodramatic, titillating teen horror film, but without the horror. There's some horror there. The idea had been simmering in my brain from the time I started making films, but it was my beautiful wife who inspired me to turn it into a story about beauty and insanity, resulting in a very visceral experience. So, okay, great. Like that sounds fine. And then the second paragraph. I believe there is a 16-year-old girl in every man. And making the neon demon was my opportunity to explore this side of myself. I imagine myself as a young girl moving to LA for the first time in an attempt to make it big. I believe there's a 16-year-old girl in every man.
I'm going to take mine shopping.
But anyway,
Snapchat about it. Whatever that is.
Exactly.
Yeah, and in fact, but in the third paragraph, he said, which brings us to a certain degree of madness, not unlike the beautiful chaos in Valley of the Dolls. So.
Yeah, right.
There you go. It has aspirations.
There's a Steven Soderbergh quote that I'm probably mangling that I think you would appreciate, which is he says that he resents it when the director stands between the audience and the screen and waves his arms around.
Well, that he does here,
Yeah.
and so you can he does it on purpose, so you can say that that's part of his style, and you got to get past that if you're going to. But yeah, I resent it too. But that said, this movie stays with you, and
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about it. And I saw it Monday, and it's now Thursday, and I'm still.
I saw it last week. I'm still thinking about it. And also, I want to mention the Cliff Martinez score. He often does the music in Nicholas Winding Refn films. Please call him NWR from now on. He's referred to himself in the third person throughout your press notes as NWR.
Yeah.
So that adds to like the synthy kind of techno score adds to the sense of like menace and dread, and as it does in so many of his films. So. Anyway, I like this movie more than Ben did. I'm giving it a 7.
I gave it a 6.2. I mean, I
Okay.
wanted to make sure that I qualified as fresh.
We're fresh
because
here.
it is fresh. but it's also
Exciting.
irritating, but it's also good at times. And the third, and stick with it because it gets better as it goes.
Yes. So let us know what you think. It's a strange little movie.
Yeah, it's a strange movie.
Our average is a 6.6.
Oh yeah, and it's a 52% on the tomato meter. It's going up on the tomato meter. People didn't like it at first, and now they're starting to like it.
And
They're
even the
coming
people who
around.
didn't like it, I read a bunch of reviews. The first 6 reviews were all rotten, but none of them hated it. They were just like, what's happening? Yeah, right.
Bye.